welcome to episode 18 of the Live Motocross podcast. I'm Sophie McGinn, your host, and today we're going to be having a chat to Apico factory racing owners, Dylan and Anna, just having a chat about the business, what they do with the race team, and something a little bit different and behind the scenes for you guys. Enjoy. So Dylan and Anna from Apico Factory Racing, thank you so much for joining us on this week's podcast. I wanted to get you guys on really because I think there's a great story behind Apico and not a lot of people really know it that well.
Oh, that's very true, Sophie, and hello and welcome. Welcome to Apico HQ.
I know
This
is the first podcast in, I say, the lockdown series that I've actually sat opposite someone. So we've done 17 episodes, I think, so far through a laptop. So it's actually quite nice to sit and have a chat with someone face to face for a change.
We are still social distancing, though.
Of course.
Absolutely. And I've permanently got my face covering on, so we will be okay from that angle.
This is it. So tell us then a little bit about Apico's history and how it all came about.
It's quite old now, this company. It was founded in 1984 by Yrjö Westerinen and his wife Diane. Mm-hmm. Yrjö is a 3 times world trials champion who met his wife Diane, moved to the UK. He was still riding, but when he came to the end of his career, he was thinking, well, what do I do now? Mm-hmm. He probably realised, bless him, he was unemployed, unemployable.
Self-confessed that he was unemployable at the time after such a long trials career that he had. Mm. Not only did he win 3 world titles, but he won multiple Scandinavian championships, Scottish 6-day trial, which is the hardest trial in the world. So very, very successful at the riding career that he had.
Yeah.
Self-confessed when he hung up his boots one day, he realised that he was unemployable. Mm. So he needed to do something. With him having a lot of contacts in particular in Finland at the time, clothing manufacturing was heavily involved in Scandinavia. And as a rider himself, you know, he was sponsored by various people over the years, and probably not always 100% happy with the equipment that he had, and fine-tuned and changed things up and introduced new materials and came out with the Apico trials gear. And that's pretty much how the Apico brand started, was a clothing brand.
And also, I know if you could probably see where we're sat in the boardroom now, you've obviously got the very first set of Apico kit up on the wall. Yeah,
we've got a few bits and pieces of nostalgia hung up on the wall. And for both myself and Anna, it's just a quick flashback, really, just to where it did all start and where we've ended up as of today, really. So how did you guys come about, obviously, taking over the business? And when did you actually sit down and go, this is what we're going to do? Well,
now he sprung a bit of a surprise on us there, Vesti, to be perfectly honest.
He sure did.
They were nearing a time when they wanted to retire. And they have 2 children, both very successful in their own rights, but not really any interest in taking over the business. So I was sat with Vesti in his truck going down to the dirt bike show, and all of a sudden he goes, so, Anna, have you thought that you and Dylan could actually own Apico one day? I just looked at him and I started to laugh. No. What are you talking about? And, it turns out that he was serious.
He was very serious, yeah. I remember only probably a couple of hours later, I bumped into Vesti at the dirt bike show at Stoneleigh Park. And he came and pretty much asked me the same question as he'd asked Anna a couple of hours before, and my reaction was the same. You know, I thought he was going crazy. But yeah, you know, and that's where it started. Really, we opened up some discussions, And yeah, you could say the rest is history.
Yeah, literally.
And that, you know, for both myself and Anna, that's, you know, pretty much 7 years ago now, since we bought the business. But, you know, prior to that, for those people that don't know, Anna was the purchasing manager, employed by the company as the purchasing manager. I was employed also as a product development, so developing a lot of the Apico hard parts, etc. But I was also responsible for the sales side of things. So I guess for Vesty and Diana, it was quite unique in the sense that Anna used to purchase the products and I would sell them. So for both of us to be, you know, in partnership in the business, outside of the business, you know, when we came to work, Anna would buy it and I would sell it.
I had the best job in the world.
Some might say you still do, but
yeah, but I got to spend someone else's money.
You were spending somebody else's money back then. Yeah, no, it was pretty unique, really.
Oh gosh. So obviously you've got a bit of a background in racing anyway. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, my father was a motorcycle fanatic, and when I was a very, very young boy, he took me to the Isle of Man for the TT races. I sat on the back of his motorcycle and off we went to, I think it was Liverpool for the ferry crossing. Went over to the Isle of Man and spent 2 weeks there, sat on the back of my dad's bike, and we went there year after year for a number of years. But where I was living at the time, there was a local friend of mine who was riding and racing in the schoolboy motocross scene. But my parents, probably more my mother than my father, didn't want me to get into the racing scene. Perhaps they didn't want to see me get hurt or that sort of thing. So I never really got into schoolboy motocross, but I followed it. You know, I was there week in, week out. And then my dad then, after pestering him, he actually took me to Hawkstone Park for a Grand Prix. And back then it used to alternate each year between Hawkstone and Farley. And obviously Hawkstone was the closest for us, so we used to go there pretty religiously. And I just fell in love with the sport. But like I say, you know, as a schoolboy, for various reasons, it never really happened to me until one day where I could afford to do it myself, and that's what I did. You know, and I got to know you know, a bunch of great people within the industry, racing, and you know, and thoroughly enjoyed it. So much so, my career at the time the career path that I'd chosen at the time, I decided to walk away from it, purely and simply because I was offered a sales position in a Honda dealership. So I went to work there for a couple of years, thoroughly enjoyed that, continued racing, and then the opportunity came up to come and work for Apico. And that's what I chose to do because it was an ideal job for somebody who was so passionate about motocross in particular.
Yeah. And what about you, Anna? What was your background of well, the motocross world, I should say?
Well, I actually started working in the industry all the way, giving up my age now, in 94. I worked for 4 times world motocross champion Torsten Hallman, founder of Thor Motorcycle Gear. So there's probably not a lot of people know either that actually stands for Torsten Hallman Original Racing.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Or Racewear. Yeah, so he was the founder of the Thor brand.
Oh, right.
I worked for him and Scott Svenska, which was the company name, for 11 years. I've always been involved with sports. My dad has always worked with sports admin. I'm a football nut. Played all sorts of different sports myself, but motorsport has never been my thing. Yeah. Until through a friend I got a chance to get an interview to start working for Torsten. Jumped at a chance. Because to me it's just, it's sports. It'll be fine. How hard can it be? Yeah, so I worked there for 11 years and then through work we met. By chance.
And really is by chance that the fact that Anna and I met the way that we did ultimately has led us down this route of eventually becoming the owners of the business.
Yeah.
And it's quite a unique story in itself. And working for Apico, I got this chance. And when I say a chance, it really was a chance, because a colleague of mine was supposed to be going on this particular trip. But he fell ill, couldn't go. And Vesti sort of said to me, well, listen, the flights are paid for, they're booked and paid for, accommodations sorted, go and get your passport, you're leaving tomorrow. So that's what I did. Packed a bag, got the passport, got on the plane, and we were going to the Sinisalo clothing distributors meeting, which was in the not too far from Rovaniemi in
Finland.
Yeah, northern Finland. But to be able to get there, we had to have a connecting flight. So I flew from Manchester to Helsinki to get a connecting flight up to Rovaniemi. And as we were sat in the airport drinking a coffee, wasting a little bit of time before we had to get on the next flight, in walks a bunch of people, and I instantly thought, oh, the Americans are here.
Yeah.
All kitted out in Scott hoodies.
They all had the Scott hoodies on, and I was listening, and I thought, yeah, definitely the Americans are here. And they started chatting with a few other people and figured out quite quickly that everybody's getting on the same connecting flight and we're all going to the same meeting. And Anna, being Anna and as polite as she is, came to introduce herself to me, because she'd been on these trips before, but for me it was the first one. And my instant reaction, and I know you don't mind me saying this, darling, is that this girl's going to be a real pain in the rear for the next 3 or 4 days that we're in Finland on a distributors meeting. And I don't know about Anna, but we didn't really see eye to eye from the
Really?
word go. No, we didn't. But then,
Surely one-sided, I don't know.
Well, maybe it is one-sided, I don't know. But yeah, that was my, initial reaction. Was
It must have been the ugly Smith goggles you lent me.
Yeah, it could have been. So yeah, that was my first reaction when I first saw Anna. It was she's going to be a pain in the rear, but it turns out that she wasn't. And let's just say we had a great few days at the distributor conference, and we kept in touch from there.
Indeed.
Yeah, we did. We kept in touch from there, and we bumped into each other a couple of times over the next year, and then we both plucked up the courage to meet each other in London.
Yep.
For a nice weekend. And yeah, the rest is history, really.
Yeah, Vesti got wind of this and rang and offered me a job.
Yeah.
Is that how it came about?
Yeah, it really did. We met I think it was Cologne or Milan for an international show.
Yeah.
And we went out for dinner one night, and obviously with the Scandinavian connection between Sweden and Finland, these two hit it off straight away.
Yeah.
A lot in common.
Yeah,
should we say, with a Scandinavian background. And then, he did.
Yeah, 2 weeks later he rang and says, I don't suppose you want a job, do you?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And that's literally how we met. So the fact that one of my colleagues was ill on this particular few days.
Well, if that's not fate, I don't know what is.
He knows who he is, and we spoke about it beforehand, so... Mr. Braybrook, thank you very much. I owe you one.
Takes all the credit for that, does he?
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. So heading on to further down the line in the business, obviously you've got the team.
We do.
How did that come about, or is that something that Vesti always did? Or?
No, not at all. Over the years, the company, we have sponsored a lot of individual riders, not just in motocross, but in trials in particular, because of Vesti's background. A lot in the enduro side as well. But we've never had our own team. We've always heavily supported other teams, like I say, riders as well. But again, how the Apico Husqvarna team came about, again, sort of, we laugh and joke about how Anna and I met and, where that led us to. But I suppose in similar circumstances, Apico Husqvarna was born in quite unusual circumstances. And it all happened at the International Dirt Bike Show at Stoneleigh. Anna and I took over the business in May of 2014, and then the Dirt Bike Show was only a few months later, end of October, early November. So as new company owners, we had to get through an awful lot very, very quickly on the lead up to the show. And every year you're always talking to people, negotiating for the following year and so on and so forth. And Stuart Summers approached me at the show along with Stephen Clark. And we sat in the cafeteria area and Stuart put a proposal in front of us. And I pretty much straight away said yes. Just as easy as that, with what he said, with their attitude and their approach. I said, yeah, okay, we can do a deal. Let's talk about it later. And off I went back to our display area.
Yeah.
We continued with the rest of the show. So we put a deal together for 2015, which was Stephen on his own. We were pretty much the title sponsor of the Clarks and the Summers team, and we just rolled out 2015 and had a pretty decent year. And then for 2016, Richard Clark, Stephen's father, and Stuart Summers came to us again and said, are you happy with everything that's been done? Would you like to continue for the following year? And straight away we said yeah. And what they did was they brought in Brian McKenzie in 2016. We went hard. We went in a lot harder with our support for the team. We invested a lot more into the team for Brian and for Stephen. We went to pretty much every single race with them. We were leading the British Championship. We were going into the final round, and then we had a DNF in the first race of the day.
Oh gosh!
Which then swung the favour back into Adam Sterry's corner.
Yeah.
And Stuart was very, very disappointed, angry within himself, but it was not. It was
just
not Stuart's. It was not Stuart's fault. It's just one of those mechanicals. And Stephen said, "Don't worry about it. I'll go out and I'm going to smoke. I'll smoke the next race," which is what he did. He went out there and smoked them all and won the second race. But unfortunately, we lost the British Championship.
Yeah.
And it was as harsh as that. And
we had a second and we had a third.
The positive to come out of it was Stephen finished second overall.
Yep.
Brian McKenzie finished third overall. Which to me is still just an absolutely remarkable result for a small privateer team. The sad part about it at the end of the year was that we already knew that Brian was going to retire from professional racing. We've actually, in the building here, in our office, we actually still have Brian's last professional Husqvarna on display here, which we're very, very proud of. But we knew that Brian was retiring, and then Stephen dropped quite a big bombshell on us and decided he was going to go and further his career in the States, which is what he did.
Yeah.
So for us, we went from a massive high to a massive low, and then quickly realised we have a team, but we have no riders.
Yeah, it's almost starting from scratch again, isn't it, with that sort of thing?
Yeah, it came as such a sideswipe for us that we had everything, and then all of a sudden we had nothing.
Yeah. Well, I don't even think we had even an inkling about
no
continuing.
Idea. No.
After that, we thought, all right, well.
We just maybe assumed a little bit too much. But, fair play to Stephen. It's what he's always wanted to do. He did it. He had some successes out there. We're still very, 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 very good friends with the Clark family. Stephen's great. His dad, and the mum. And, we still get on today.
Well, what I meant was that we didn't even have an inkling after that as to well, we didn't even have a plan as to,
going forward with it.
No, are we going forward with it, or was that sort of it?
Yeah,
and then
it was. Yeah,
it all fell into place again.
Yeah, it did. You know, running a business in itself takes up an awful lot of time. So to be running a team as well as
that's almost like a business in itself, isn't it?
It very much is, yeah. And I don't think a lot of people maybe just understand and appreciate what goes on behind the scenes. You know, to be able to do that. So you know, we had two choices really. We either said, okay, you know, we've given it a go and that's it, and we walk away from the British Championship paddock, or we try and carry on in some way.
Yeah.
And I guess, you know, fate again. We were at Western Beach Race. I had a brief conversation with Matt Burrows' father, Sean, from SB Windows, because we'd been supporting Matt on more of a satellite basis during the previous year, and Sean sort of gave us a little bit of an olive branch and said, you know, if you want it to continue, maybe we can do it together. And that's what we did.
Yeah.
So it took a lot of pressure off me and Anna as well. You know, Sean and the Burrows family, you know, stepped in and helped us. And that was the bit that was cool because it kept it alive. It kept it alive. And then very quickly after that, Husqvarna approached us and asked us if we would be interested in bringing Christian Watley into the team, because at that time Christian, I think, was in between, you know, maybe teams and various bits and pieces. So yeah, we jumped at it. We got you know, tremendous support from Husqvarna UK to be able to do that. But then we were thrown another curveball very, very early on because Christian, unfortunately, had a pretty bad injury from an accident that he had at Canada Heights, and that pretty much ruled him out for the year. So talking about going from highs to lows to highs to lows, everything seemed to just was thrown at us. Yeah. And yeah, so, you know, we had to ride out that year. And then, you know, we needed to figure out what we needed to do to kick on again. And Stuart Edmonds was in a position where, with the support that he gets from Gavin at CCM Racing in Dublin, we pulled that together. And, you know, a good friend of ours, again, someone that we've supported for numerous years now, one way or another, Jamie Law. You know, Jamie came on board, and then we had Matt, and we've been grinding away ever since, you know, with these three riders.
So I know you guys are very sort of hands-on with the team. You know, I don't think there's many team owners that you'll see washing bikes for one, putting awnings up on the weekends. Would you have it any other way? Do you like being so like stuck in and hands-on with stuff?
Well, Dylan,
let Anna answer that one.
the simple answer to that is that no one else can do it right. So Dylan has to get him on.
Not quite as bad as that. No, cool. Listen, you know, all right, all joking aside, you know, I have high standards, and I want to do things right. And if that means that I've got to get my hands dirty to be able to do that, then I'll do it. Yeah,
because obviously you've been prepping all the lads' bikes and stuff as well. Like, a lot of people don't even see that.
No, they don't, you know, and in particular this year with COVID, you know, we wouldn't have wished this period on anybody around the world. And it's been so difficult for a lot of people. You know, and it's been tough. It's been tough for us as well. We've been trying to keep the business going during this difficult time. But also trying to keep a team going as well. Yeah,
keep everyone motivated.
And keeping people motivated, and all the equipment there, you know, ready. So when the federation say we are going racing, we're ready to go racing.
And obviously, this past week we have lost the British Championship for this year, unfortunately. Yeah. But you guys did something pretty amazing this week with the MX Nationals, didn't you?
Well, yeah, you could say that. I mean, we did it for one reason only, and that is we wanted to contribute to keep or to help keep a series going. I saw firsthand with with my own eyes at Hawkstone Park what those guys at MX Nationals did.
Yep.
I've spoke to Paul Irwin directly about it, and I'll say the same here as what I said to Paul. I take my hat off to Paul and his team of people for what they've done. I don't think enough people perhaps understand what extra precautions they've had to put in place to enable the MX Nationals to go ahead in the way that it did. And, there was a rider that was seriously injured at Hawkstone Park. Yes, Jack Drogan. I actually used to race with Jack's father, Paul.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, going back in the day. So, I know the Drogan family, but putting that to one side, the fact that they had the medical equipment there to do what they had to do for Jack was fantastic.
Yeah, I agree.
I think the circumstances could have been totally different if those facilities were not there. So when you drill down into the nitty-gritty of what we did, it was basically just try to help. Help the MX Nationals in a small way that we did, really. And I just hope that people may have seen what we've done and try and contribute.
Yeah, follow suit.
Because,
well, the thing is, when you come to a crisis or you just come to things that needs to be done, to me there's two types of people. Either the ones that sit and as, oh, that looks like a lot of work that someone else has to do, or you get stuck in. And if that's the only decent race series that we're going to have this year, well, why not play your part? Chip in, help them out, because obviously they don't get the same revenue this year that they would, because there's no spectators, and with all the extra work and precautions and medical. So why not help out?
they've taken a massive risk. The MX National boys, Paul and his dad Neil, they've taken a big risk. It takes an awful lot of money, time and resources and energy to put a race meeting on like they do there. So we just felt that we wanted to contribute to it, to give them some support. And I hope that other people see it for what it is, rather than perhaps seeing it as the MX Nationals might be looking to cover some of the costs, or with the GoFundMe page. But it genuinely isn't. Not in my opinion, well, not in our opinion anyway, is that these series, they need funds to be able to go and do what they do, and we've just chipped in and tried to help.
Well, to be honest, I weren't too keen before we went. I've probably become a bit of a recluse during this lockdown period, but we went, and I thought they'd done a really good job.
Yeah, and everyone was pretty well behaved, weren't they? Everyone kept their masks on, and
they did. It was. I wouldn't say it was a tough decision to go, but I think everybody that was there was maybe a little bit apprehensive of what to expect when we got there. But I have to say, we turned up on the gate. The guys there, everything was totally controlled. If your name's not on the list, you're not coming in. So that was very well managed. On site as well, plenty of distance in between all of the vehicles. Everybody was respectful with masks. Loads of hand sanitisation stations. Everything was under control. If you weren't allowed in the part ferme or the holding area or the mechanics, you were not getting in there. It was simple. It was so well controlled and organised. We went away from there feeling really, really comfortable, confident, and safe. So every credit to what they did there, and obviously we've got Landrake coming up in a week's time. We'll be ready. We'll be going there and giving our support again.
Oh, awesome stuff. I know obviously last year was Western.
Yes.
If we do end up going ahead with it this year, do you think that's going to be following the same suit as MX Nationals, or? Because it's going to be different, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the whole event will be different to what we've experienced. You know, we've been going for the last 5 or 6 years now, supporting the event and trying to raise some money for the Great Western Air Ambulance charity. And we love Western.
Yeah.
We absolutely, it's probably...
Best weekend of the year.
It is. It really is. You know, we've all had a hard year. We've all been working and racing But I don't know, we just look forward to going to Western as the final swan song for the year, having a great weekend, you know, meeting new people, because there are so many people go to Western. It's a great way to interact with, you know, with the public. So, but this year, I don't know. I really don't know.
Because what makes Western is all the
people,
masses of spectators, and I don't know how we would pull that off. I don't know how it's going to work. I mean, there's enough people there with all the riders, and just see the whole lineup of thousands of bikes is amazing. But I think the spectators kind of make that event, and just the boardwalk being full of people and mingling and having a good time and on the beach.
I think the spectators do bring a lot to the atmosphere of the event.
Yeah.
They really do. But
if you can pull it off, that's off.
Fingers crossed.
Well, I mean, if anyone can pull it off, it'll be Gareth.
You know,
I have spoke to Gareth about it, and he assures me that it's going to go ahead. And, you know,
I think we've started actually planning content and stuff this morning for it. So
really,
fingers crossed it will all be going ahead, unless Boris doesn't like the idea. But.
Well, that's it. If the rules change between now and then, you know, who knows? But hopefully they won't, and hopefully we can get Western on the beach.
That's it. Maybe we should put an entry in this year.
For me?
Yeah.
No. I've got enough to do looking after Stuart.
Would you never fancy giving it a go?
I did a couple of beach races many years ago. Not Western, never ridden Western. Sort of Blackpool, Southport races like that. Thoroughly enjoyed it, but no, you get to my age and
too many aches and pains.
Far too many broken bones over the years, aches and pains, and I've got to come to work on a Monday morning. So. We'll let the youngsters do it. I thoroughly enjoyed last year. You know, Stuart's first Western for Stuart. The week before, he was racing at the Motocross of Nations at Assen, which was a washout.
Good prep for it, I guess.
Good prep for it. You know, the bike arrived back here just as it had finished the last race at Assen. His kit bag arrived here just as it had finished Assen, so we literally had 2 or 3 days to get his kit cleaned up, get his bike prepped into beach race mode, and you know, fair play to him. He did well for his very first beach race.
To Western with one small fuel can.
Oh yeah, it was quite comical because I'd bought in a larger fuel tank for the bike. And Stuart turned up with his normal petrol can as if he was doing a motocross meeting. So I'd used this to fill the bike up so the bike was full. And then I said to Stuart, okay, right, you need wheels, toolbox, fuel cans down in the pit signalling area. He went, right, okay, no problem. And I said, and you might just want to go to the petrol station and get some more fuel. And he went, why have we not got enough? I said, no, all the fuel you brought is in the bike and you're going to have to do 2 fuel stops. And he did. He jumped on his mountain bike with 2 petrol cans. Pedaling. This was 25 minutes before the gate was about to open to to go racing.
I remember just seeing him because I was sat in the media centre. I remember seeing him cycling up with these petrol cans. I thought, oh my God, he's forgot.
What's he doing? So you know, for his first Western, fair play to him. He did very, very well. I think 27th overall. I think he finished. And he had a bit of a mechanical.
He
at
had
the
a
beginning.
really good Western full stop with Matt and Jamie as well.
No, from the team point of view, we had a good weekend. Jamie was 5th, was he? I'm thinking. Sorry, Jamie. And Matt was 7th or 8th.
Yeah, something like that, wasn't it?
So there were the 2 of them in the top 10, and I think Stuart would have been in the top 10 quite easily as well. But like I say, I had a bit of a disaster, let's say, to start off with, which we're still a little bit unsure as to how it even happened, but it did. And it, I suppose a little bit of a funny story there is Stuart Edmonds rode the entire Western beach race with the sump plug out of Ronnie Mac's CR250, the Screaming Eagle. We actually stole it out of his bike in Park Fermi to get Stuart going again. So
that was not why Ronnie Mac didn't complete it.
No, it's not. Just for the record, we actually took it out of his spare bike. But yeah, so there's there's always a tale to be told.
That's it.
Better make that clear.
Yeah, crystal clear.
Accused of anything.
Crystal clear.
There were a lot of angry parents after his half a lap.
Yeah. So moving back towards the business side of things, you've obviously got an absolute ton of brands that you carry. Like I didn't even realise until I went on a little wander around in the warehouse. But how long is it taking you to get those sort of brands built up?
It was funny really, because I think, Sophie, you and I spoke about this little story only last week or the week before, but the business was originally located in Guildford in Surrey, and they had 3 or 4 tiny little units dotted around the town, if you will. So in one unit they had chains, and then in a different unit they might have had brake pads, and it became a bit of a logistical nightmare, just consolidating orders and getting them shipped out. So both Vesti and Diane wanted to move into a bigger building, but in the south, very, very expensive, and let's say a little bit more affordable in the north of England. So Vesti, when he was still riding at a high level, professional level, used to do a lot of his training in Lancashire and in particular Yorkshire. So he knew the area very, very well, and the building that we're currently in today became available as a new build. So they decided to relocate. And when they were transporting the stock from Guildford to this building, the first truck arrived on the Monday, and that was unloaded. And then Vesti said, "There's another truck coming tomorrow." Okay, so there's another one arrived on Tuesday, same on Wednesday. And then Thursday, Vesti turns up, proud as punch, into his new building, and walked into the warehouse and sort of scratched his head and had this puzzled look on his face. And I said, "What's the problem, Maria?" And he said, "I think we might have been a bit over-optimistic with the size of the building." And I said, "No, you'll be fine. When the rest of the stock comes, it'll be good." And he said, "No, Dylan, that is all the stock we have." And you could have had an arena cross inside the building, and still... the stock was in there as well, So it was pretty empty when we first moved in. But going back to your question, Irish chains, RI helmets, we used to do some other small bits and pieces as well. But when we moved into this building almost 20 years ago, we only had a handful of brands. And then over the last 20 years, we've built it into what it is today, really.
And also we were chatting a little bit before the podcast about the sponsorship little packages you did for a handful of the kids from the Apico. That in itself, I think, is great, because obviously the kids get to see behind the scenes in the business, but also, like you say, they had their own personal shopper. They were made to be, well, almost factory riders, if you guess, for the day.
And they were. Yes, this came about from the two-stroke festival that we are the title sponsor for, so Apico two-stroke festival. We set up a prize last year, which we handpicked a rider in each
we did,
of the youth class. And they all won a prize of £1,500.
Yeah, it was for £1,500 prize pot.
And we invited them and their parents up for the day, and we had a blast. It was a really good day. So we arranged like a little VIP setting here in this room for the kids, and it was all about the kids. The parents got to sit in the cheap seats. Well, we had a little walk around. They got to run around in the warehouse and have a look in all the boxes and see what was hiding. Because to us, the warehouse looks pretty boring. It's just a huge room of cardboard boxes. But for them, they were like,
kids in a sweet shop.
And then they got their own personal shopper. They got to pick whatever kit or helmet, boots they wanted, handlebars, and it was really, really good day.
Oh, that's good. Now, one thing I want to pick up on as well, because obviously you can't see in here, but there is bikes dotted around everywhere in this building.
Yeah, there's
now,
one or two.
Is this a little bit of a I say hobby kind of thing for you, but restoring sort of classic bikes and bits and bobs?
Yeah, it was, I guess, when I stopped riding, because I didn't want to ride anymore. And that's the truth of the matter for me.
Yeah.
I just woke up one morning and said,
Just over it.
I'm done. Because, you know, I don't want to hurt myself anymore.
Yeah.
But in particular, you know, the bikes that I have here, I'm from the two-stroke area. Long live the two-stroke, Apico two-stroke festival. You know, I think you can get the theme here. And I actually just sort of like thought about the bikes that I'd ridden over the years. And I thought to myself, I really wanted that one, but I never had one. Because again, we go back to what we were saying earlier on. My parents were a little bit anti me doing it, and I had to do it myself. But I always wanted that bike, but I never could afford one, or I couldn't find one. And I found one, didn't I? It was a 1989 CR125 Honda, and I wanted to restore it because the previous year I'd been to Farleigh Castle for the Vets Nations.
Yeah.
And I thought, I really don't want to race anymore, but if I want to do one meeting, it's got to be Farleigh.
Yeah, 100%.
It really has to be Farleigh. So I found the bike. Then I managed to get a ride, which again, you know, just trying to get an entry into Farleigh can be pretty difficult because there's so many people who want to do it. So I got the ride, I got the bike, went to Farleigh, qualified inside the top 40, so I'd have been on the front row, really pleased with that. Seized the bike up.
No.
The bike went in the van, and we got the barbecue and the beers out, and that was my Farleigh weekend.
That was 2 laps into practice.
Yeah, it was only two
laps
laps into practice, and I knew straight away there's something wrong. But I thought, first lap I knew there was something wrong. I thought if it keeps going and I can get a lap in on the second lap and get a time, then we might be able to fix the bike.
And I could see him from the other end of the track. He says, the smoke is not looking very good.
Yeah, no, it lost all of its water, and it just literally seized solid at the top of the hill. So we coasted it back down, chucked it, and I knew we weren't going to get it fixed because I think it seized on the bottom ends, you know, the main bearings had seized. Yeah, put the bike in the van and opened a tin of beer, and that was Farleigh.
Enjoyed the rest of the racing.
Yeah, my Farleigh experience from there, for there. Then brought the bike back, totally restored it. It's actually sat in our office now. And then thought, I used to have one of those and I really enjoyed riding it. So I found one, you know, and it just escalated from there.
Yeah.
So all the bikes that I do have, I've either ridden that model myself in that era, or it was one that I always wanted, but
never got round to it.
Yeah, perhaps for whatever reason, never got one. So,
gosh.
Outside of the business and the team, that's where I de-stress.
Yeah.
Winter projects.
Oh, don't blame you.
Yeah.
So moving forward, what's next for Apico? Anything exciting going into next year?
Well, it will all depend on what the current climate is with COVID-19. We just carry on doing what we're doing, giving good service to our customers, carry on with the racing side of things, and see how we get out of this year, really. But you know, our main objective has always been to keep progressing, to keep pushing forward, especially on the Apico side of things. You know, always looking to develop something, bring something new to the market. And yeah, but difficult times at the moment for everybody.
Yeah.
Really difficult.
Yeah, it definitely is. So that will round up episode 18 of the Live Motocross podcast. Dylan and Anna, thank you so much for taking the time out of a hectic day, I'm sure, to have a chat this week.
Yeah, no, you're welcome. It's a pleasure to have you here, and thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sophie.
No problem. All right, so seeing as we are in the building at Apico, I've dragged Scott Cannon in, who is, well, in fact, Scott, you can tell everybody what you do at Apico.
I'm the marketing manager at Apico, so everything through sponsorship, adverts, catalogues, all kinds of different things. I do events, all sorts.
All the good stuff then.
Yeah.
So how did you get involved with the brand? Sort of how long have you been working here?
I've been here 9.5 years now. So I came from a charity, the British Red Cross initially, classically trained in marketing, got a degree. Motocross was always a passion of mine when I was younger.
Yep.
and the team came and found me do the job. I think, so that would have been in February 2011. And started then and been here ever since.
That's it then. Rest is history, I guess.
Yeah.
So what would you say is your favourite bit of the job?
Oh, there's so many good bits, really. It's a variation. You know, I like to keep busy. I can be doing social media straight away through to helping out the sales team and catalogue proofing like I'm doing today, and helping do things for dealers online and social, and just various different things, events, planning events. So yeah, it's really varied, the role. It's really good. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
And yeah, just enjoy it.
And what is it like dealing with the riders? Seeing as we've got one sat in here.
This particular rider is pretty good. It all depends. You know, I think the hardest part is knowing everyone's shoe size, clothes size, because they expect you to know it because they never do. But other than that, no, it's good working with the riders. You know, it helps you develop relationships and working to help them help you really promote the brands and get the things done that need to be done to keep us in the eyes of the off-road public.
That's it. So obviously this year has been a bit mad, hasn't it, with events and bits and bobs getting cancelled and whatnot.
Yeah.
What have you got to look forward to for the rest of the season / next year?
Well, obviously this season we've now lost the ACU British Championship. That's something that we normally attend as a team at Apico Husqvarna with the riders, and I'll do social bits and pieces and little videos back in the back end, so people get to see the more behind the scenes things rather than race results, you know, the more interesting things. Unfortunately that's gone. I'm not too sure where we are with the Apico Two-Stroke Festival this year. That's, I think, still a possibility, but we're waiting for Dave Willett to give us further information on that.
Yep.
So it's really the MX Nationals as a team for Apico Husqvarna that we've got to look forward to now this year. And I've been very impressed with how things were run at Hawkstone from what I'm told, and I'm going to be attending all the events for the MX Nationals now for the rest of the year with the team and doing what we do.
And of course, obviously, Dylan made the massive donation to the MX Nationals the other day, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. You know, we had a look at it, and we're actually waiting for something more to happen on the social side of things. I won't say too much about that now, but just to help get the message out there about what it's all about. Yeah. I initially just thought it was about PPE, but it's not. You know, it's a lot more in depth than that, and what they're doing. I take my hat off to Paul and Neil Irwin and the rest of, you know, the MX Nationals crew. I think they're doing a fantastic job in these tough times, and, you know, I hope that people understand and realise that it's not just all about PPE, it's extra security at events, it's extra medical staff at events, it's having the medical setup, because they've got a massive rig that they can pretty much deal with any kind of eventuality that may happen. You know, touch wood it doesn't, but that could happen at an event. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the MX Nationals, and hopefully maybe Western. We're still waiting to hear on exactly what that might be. Yep. So yeah, that's pretty much it that I'm aware of right now. And yeah, obviously next year we'll have to see where things are there. That's more of the boss man who sort of decides upon them kind of things. But I would hope that, you know, going forward with the team, you know, we have a full season again for 2021.
Awesome. If you want to listen to the rest of the episodes of the Live Motocross podcast, make sure you subscribe to our iTunes, Acast and SoundCloud. I think we're back onto now. But in the meantime, we'll catch up on the next episode.